Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94, back with another reaction video. Today we're going to react to the most underrated NFL game of all time. This is by Soft Drink TV. Let's check it out.
When I started this channel, my first retrospective was on ESPN NFL 2K5, a game I called the greatest NFL video game ever made. It was an easy, obvious choice. 2K5 was the last NFL licensed game made by 2K. It nearly outsold Madden 05, and it had some of the most realistic football gameplay ever seen in a video game. Of course, I was 5 years old when the game released, so I didn't actually start playing it until around 2013. I saw some YouTube videos claiming the game was better than Madden 25, so I gave it a shot and ordered a used copy for my Xbox. It was only about $1 back then. It ended up becoming my favorite video game of all time. Compared to the PS2 era Madden titles, 2K Football felt more organic to me. I had gotten sick of how repetitive the old Maddens felt after playing them non-stop for years. And don't get me wrong, the PS2 Maddens were incredible, but 2K5 felt like a breath of fresh air.
Hold on, y'all. Let me go do something real quick. Let me go. Alrighty. Let's get back into it. I had to use the bathroom.
I could run the same play over and over in practice mode and get a different result every single time. Every play felt like it developed organically with little scripting, and I would spend hours trying to recreate historic NFL plays because the game gave me the ability to do so. Back then, I would go on Operation Sports forums to download updated rosters for the game. I had the 2012 rosters installed, but I noticed the guy who was making the rosters at the time, he started focusing on making NFL 2K4 rosters instead of 2K5. I wasn't sure why at the time, but I always remembered that and ended up picking up a copy. Recently, I gave 2K4 a closer look. I know 2K5, and honestly, 2K4 might just be better. The CPU AI is smarter, player momentum is smoother, the lack of a VIP system actually allows you to have more customization over CPU playlooks and playstyle, and a lot of tiny issues from 2K5 are simply not present in 2K4. Have I been overrating 2K5 simply because it was the last 2K football game licensed by the NFL? No, not at all. 2K5 is and always will be my favorite video game of all time, and even today, it's so much fun to play, at least for me. But 2K4 has a strong case for being a better game. For that reason, it has to be incredibly underrated. You always hear about 2K5, and rightfully so, but 2K4 is like the forgotten older brother. After spending some more time with it, I really do feel like this game needs more attention, because ESPN NFL Football 2K4 was a masterpiece. Before we compare 2K4 to 2K5, let's take a look at the game's development and how it improved from 2K3. If you remember those older 2K football games, you'll likely remember this play selection screen. 2K4 was the first 2K football game to modernize that screen. 2K4 also introduced some of the best features found in 2K5, such as the crib, a mode where you could decorate your own house as you unlock more points by playing the game, as well as first-person football, which was revolutionary at the time. And probably most importantly, 2K4 was the first 2K football game to have the full ESPN license. In fact, while the game has a little 2K4 logo in the corner, it was officially titled ESPN NFL Football. Nearly everything from ESPN NFL 2K5 is present, minus a few things, but overall, 2K4 feels more or less like the same game. Franchise mode is missing some of 2K5's additions, like the weekly wrap-up show and the weekly prep, but it does have something 2K5 doesn't: half-decent draft logic. One of 2K5's biggest flaws is that the CPU will only draft one of 4 positions in the first round: running back, tackle, defensive end, or quarterback. So if you want to draft, say, the best receiver, or safety, or linebacker with the 32nd pick in the first round, or even the first pick of the second round, you can. This really affected immersion, and yet somehow in 2K4, This issue was not present. Is it minor? Sure, but it's worth noting. Throughout all of franchise mode, the CPU was simply tuned better in 2K4. It was harder to cheese trades, and the draft was unpredictable, as was free agency. But the largest difference between the two games comes within gameplay. In terms of depth, both games are similar, and you'd probably want to play 2K5 instead if depth is your preference. But 2K4 was close enough, and the gameplay of 2K4 was just so different from 2K5. For example, running with the ball was completely different. If you think 2K5 has sluggish and slow gameplay and player movement, you'd be right, and that's because 2K5 was aiming to be more realistic. It was a slower paced game. For many, especially those used to Madden games, 2K5 just felt too foreign, but I believe the payoff is worth it once you get used to the learning curve. However, in 2K4, player movement is a lot cheesier, similar to PS2 Madden games. You can stop on a dime, turn on a dime, and actually successfully return kickoffs and punts. For some, this will be more fun, but for others, it might be seen as less realistic. Not every change is subjectively better or worse, however. The quarterback AI was much better in 2K4, where a CPU player would actually carve you up and make good decisions. Quarterbacks played receivers much better in 2K4 as well, and the result was a more challenging game. In 2K5, receivers drop the ball way too often. Even with my custom sliders making catching a 100, I still see too many drops. In 2K4, this wasn't the case. And in basically every gameplay category besides player movement, 2K4 does feel more realistic and objectively better. Why are the games so different when it comes to AI? My theory is that when they implemented the VIP system in 2K5, that affected the AI in a major way. It was likely rewritten entirely. Of course, I love the VIP system, but it's likely that an NFL 2K6 would have fixed those issues and given us the features of 2K5 with AI on par or better than 2K4. Of course, we all know what happened next, and if you don't, check out this video on the top right of your screen. Me saying all this might give you a negative impression of 2K5. I'm simply pointing out the game's few flaws. It really didn't have many. Plus, keep in mind the game is from 2004 and is still played to this day. But 2K4 might be better if you care mostly about gameplay. If you want a faster playing, more challenging game, then 2K4 is for you. But if you want a prettier, deeper, slightly less challenging experience that is still fantastic, then 2K5 is for you. Or just play both and decide for yourself. The fact that 2K4 is rarely talked about today, yet arguably better than the GOAT football game, makes it heavily underrated. This is a game you can get for cheap, and it gives you nearly the same experience as 2K5, with some things being better, such as the gameplay, and some things being worse, such as presentation or depth, but not by much. 2K4's presentation, again, wasn't bad by any means. The game had ESPN branding all over it for the first time, along with ESPN music. Chris Berman narrated pre- and post-game segments and gave some legit analysis. Commentary was pretty good as well. For example, if one of your players fumbles at the start of a game and then scores a touchdown later in the game, the announcers will mention that he made up for his previous mistake. Pretty advanced for 2003. And as I mentioned earlier, this was the game that introduced both the crib and first-person football. I believe that if ESPN NFL Football, aka 2K4, was the last NFL 2K game instead of 2K5, it would have the exact same reputation 2K5 has. Both games are incredible works of art when it comes to football video games. If these titles can be outdone, it hasn't happened yet. While modern Madden titles have surpassed the 2K football games in some categories, you might find yourself enjoying 2K4's gameplay more after giving it a try. You might find the presentation to be more immersive. You'll probably have more fun. I know I sure have. Thanks for watching.
Alrighty.
If you enjoyed this video...
Yeah. Anyways, that's just gonna about do it for this one, man. NFL 2K4 was definitely an underrated gem. I had a lot of fun with it. I don't know about anybody else. I had a lot of fun with it, but Madden 04, man, it hit different. Mainly, it just hit different, bro. Both games were good, but Madden 2004 with Michael Vick on the cover just hit different, bro. It had Michael Vick on the cover, bro. That's the hood all-star, bro. Of course I'm gonna play the one that got Michael Vick on the cover more than I'm gonna play the one that got Warren Sapp on the cover. Don't get me wrong, Warren Sapp cool, but he ain't Michael Vick. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, that's just gonna about do it for this one. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. Get back to you till then. Peace out.